and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true.
When you've never had a patient and a friend like Michael Jackson. And it's easy to make those statements when you have a minuscule amount of compassion compared to Dr. Murray. You can judge Dr. Murray for what he did, but don't question his motives. Dr. Murray, his greatest personality defect is his greatest character strength. He got brought into this situation because he thought he could help. Because he thought he could help. He could help Michael Jackson succeed. He could help him sleep normally. He believed that. He was wrong. He was wrong. Because Dr. Murray had no control over this situation. Because what was happening in the background, he was just a little fish in a big dirty pond. The prosecution says it's bizarre what Dr. Murray did with the 911 call. Bizarre. That's what he said. Bizarre. And Dr. Steinberg sat up here and he told you, Steinberg and Kamengar and Schaefer, and they told you, the first thing you do when you find your patient dying on the bed in front of you is you call 911. First thing you do. Really? Really? You're a doctor in a private residence. Your one patient is lying on the bed, unable to breathe, his eyes open, he looks like he's dead. You have no idea why. None. You're a cardiologist and you're trained in advanced life support. And the first thing you do is you pick up the phone and call 911? Would anybody do that? Anybody? Disregard for human life or indifference to the consequences of that act to try to revive your patient first? And what did Dr. Steinberg say when pushed? What did he say? Okay, you know what? Maybe 2 minutes. You can try to revive your patient, then call 911. He literally chose a time. Not 1 minute. That's okay, 2 minutes. And then after that, it's a felony. Just pulls a number out of his head. 2 minutes. Well, let's look at what Dr. Murray actually did. You see jury instructions in deciding whether a consequence is natural and probable. Consider all the circumstances established by the evidence. It's the same thing with negligence. The circumstances. What did Dr. Murray actually do? He tries to revive Michael Jackson. Tries immediately provides CPR. Immediately. When that doesn't work, he injects him with flumazenil. It's a reversal agent for lorazepam. There is no reversal agent for propofol. Injects him with flumazenil. That doesn't work. He runs down the stairs. We're seeing him is on these stairs. His eyes bulging out. He's frantic. And he tells Kai Chase, help. Get security. Now Kai Chase says, well, he said get security in Prince. I'm going to suggest to you that that's not what he said. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to suggest to you that what Kai Chase actually did was get Prince. And Kai Chase knew, because she told Prince, there's something wrong with your father. She knew. When all that Kai Chase had to do was walk out of that door go to this trailer where the security was. So you know that Dr. Murray runs downstairs, wants security, and he expects Kai Chase to get exactly that, to get security. It's right there by the kitchen. All she had to do is stick her head out, help. That's it. And remember where we are. This is a 14,000 square foot mansion, 3 stories, nobody allowed upstairs. Security around the perimeter. You heard what Fahim Muhammad said. Nobody gets in, not ambulance, not police, not family, without them going upstairs to check. So what's the time savings from them going upstairs to check versus Dr. Murray come down to get them? It's exactly the same thing. But it's bizarre. I want to play you this voicemail again.
Dr. Murray, it's Frank DeLeo, Michael's manager. I'm the short guy with no hair. Would you please call me at 213-304-9110? I'm sure you're aware he had an episode last night. He's sick. Today's Saturday. Tomorrow I'm on my way back. I'm not going to continue my trip. I think you need to get a blood test on him today. We got to see what he's doing. All right, thank you.
Dr. Murray was jettisoned in this whole situation 2 months prior. What Dr. Murray knew about Michael Jackson's situation was what he knew from his treatment of him in Vegas. He did not know. And Randy Phillips told you that rather than tell him about what Michael Jackson was doing in the background, he just simply cryptically said that he's seeing Arnold Klein.
Another word about Dr. Schaefer. They characterize him as a cop, that he has an agenda. He provided all of his software to defense counsel so they could do any simulation they wanted. He provides all of his data on the internet. He personally created scenarios, simulations for the defense at their request. You know, Steve Schaefer told you, I asked him, when he was describing the infusion setup and the 2 lines, I said, well, isn't it possible that in that setup, with just a roller clamp and not an infusion pump, it's possible Michael could have reached up and undid the roller clamp? He said, absolutely, I can't rule that out. He said, absolutely, I can't rule that out. That's not someone with some agenda or trying to only put blame in one place or another. That's a scientist. Because he can't rule out that scenario. Now, it's people's position in that scenario. Defendant Conrad Murray's absolutely guilty for such reckless behavior, for such indifference. But Steve Schaefer, Dr. Schaefer, is telling you the science. It's a fact that it's gross negligence to leave someone in that condition, created by Conrad Murray through a night's worth of benzodiazepines and propofol, and then leave that patient abandoned to fend for themselves. But Dr. Schaefer told the truth. He gave you the science, and he told the truth. The issue of fingerprints. Alberto Alvarez's fingerprints were not on the saline bag. Michael Jackson's fingerprints are not on the syringe that he allegedly used. There's a whole list, if you go through the stipulation, of items that were clearly touched, were clearly handled. Empty vials, things of that nature, that don't have fingerprints. You don't always get fingerprints. It depends on oils, perspiration, different things. You don't always get fingerprints. Ladies and gentlemen, if Conrad Murray felt so deeply for Michael Jackson, if he felt so much for his welfare, then I would say this: actions speak far louder than words. Because what Conrad Murray did is continued the propofol, continued the benzodiazepines, when he knew full well what it was doing to him. If, based on no other evidence, you know he knew on May 10th when he recorded that drugged up recording. Ladies and gentlemen, as I started, this was a relationship built on trust. And Michael clearly did trust his life into the hands of Conrad Murray, not only on a nightly basis for the 2 months you know about, but on June 25th, 2009. Conrad Murray brought the propofol into the house. Conrad Murray administered the propofol. Conrad Murray abandoned his patient. Conrad Murray failed to provide any monitoring equipment, resuscitative equipment, backup personnel. Conrad Murray failed to call 911. Conrad Murray is criminally liable for the death of Michael Jackson, not because it is Michael Jackson, but because Conrad Murray acted with criminal negligence. He was a substantial factor in the death of Michael Jackson. And I ask you to consider all the evidence in this case, to apply the law that the judge gave you, to work together as jurors and go through the evidence. And I trust you'll find that, again, although you have a very important role, at the end of the day, the issue of whether or not Conrad Murray was criminally negligent is not that complicated. This type of medical care has never been seen. This was a pharmaceutical experiment in a bedroom. I trust and I ask that you return with the only right verdict in this case, the only true verdict in this case, and the only just verdict in this case. I ask